Hello. I get a lot of questions about how I became a freelance web designer, specifically how I went from being someone casually freelancing on the side from my corporate job to having a full-time freelance business with real momentum and consistent work. So I just wanted to come on here and tell the story of how it unfolded for me, not because I think it represents like some ideal path. From all the designers who I've talked to and seen, I've really come to believe that that doesn't actually exist. However, regardless of people's specific journey, I think there's a few common moves that really set people up for success, and they're the things that definitely made the biggest difference for me. On the flip side, I think when these things get overlooked, it can really be what gets people stuck. As I walk through my own story, I just want to call out what those things are so you can kind of create a mental roadmap or checklist of things to stay focused on. Because honestly, anytime you're thinking of doing something that feels really big or intimidating, one of the smartest things you can do is just find people who have already done that thing, figure out what worked for them, and then borrow the parts that work best for you. And this is the exact mindset that helped me so much. So I hope that this video can do the same for you. Before I ever thought about starting a web design business, I had been working as a UX or user experience designer for over 5 years. And I want to be clear about one thing in case anyone is thinking it, which is that yes, 5 years in UX design gave me a lot of the foundational skills that I now use for web design, and it helped me learn a lot of design tools, but you absolutely don't need to work in UX design or any type of design for that long in order to become a web designer. I actually wish that I had spent less years in full-time corporate roles. No matter where you're coming from, whether you've been working in real estate or healthcare, restaurants, I guarantee you that there's something about your experience that gives you a unique advantage, whether it's your network in that community or just getting really good at reading people. But regardless, this does bring me to key focus areas number 1 and 2, which are number 1, however you can, just learn the foundations of UX. You definitely don't need to become an expert, but just learning the basics. And a lot of this is really just about knowing what questions to ask yourself and what context to gather before you jump into designing anything. And this site, Laws of UX, is a great resource that I used all the time. It's got information about the rules that you can follow in order to make sure you're creating really smooth user experiences for your audience. That's just one example of an online resource, but there's so many options out there. And number 2, I would recommend also just learning the foundations of Figma. It's kind of the gold standard design tool these days, and I don't really see that changing anytime soon. I know that everybody's talking about prototyping in Lovable and Cursor, but I really don't think you'll regret just getting comfortable in Figma so that when you have ideas in your head, you can get them onto a screen and get them matching what you have in your mind without getting slowed down. Okay, back to the story. So after 5 years in UX, here's what happened next. Even though I really enjoyed aspects of my work, I could not shake this feeling that most of my day-to-day was completely out of my control. My calendar was always full of meetings that somebody else had added me to. The projects that I worked on were just assigned to me. I worked the same 9 to 5 hours that the world has just decided is what we work. And I'll be honest here that I think this type of frustration is a kind of if you know type of feeling. Some people genuinely seem to thrive on the structure and stability of corporate life, and other people like me, maybe like you, just crave independence. So I found myself in that second group, very restless, just kind of daydreaming about other kinds of work setups. Around this time, a friend randomly reached out and said that her friend needed a new website for her business, and is this the type of project that I would take on? And I was like, no. And then I thought, maybe? And then I was like, why not? So I accepted this project, and I ended up just using Squarespace because I hadn't really learned any more advanced website design tools yet. And this project is really where things clicked for me. I actually had so much fun working on it. It was such a cool balance of visual design and problem solving and working really closely with another person. And at some point, I just realized, I think this is what I want to be doing. And then came the classic freelance chicken and egg type of problem, which I think many of us designers can relate to. And this is that I felt really eager to start making more websites for bigger companies, not just friends of friends businesses. But I realized that those businesses weren't that interested in hiring me because those types of websites weren't already in my portfolio. So why would they trust me, right? Chicken and egg. How do you get one without the other? You need clients to build your portfolio, but clients want to see that you already have a portfolio. I'll be honest that I think this is one of the hardest moments in quotations, because it can last kind of a long time as a freelance or aspiring freelance designer. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people get a bit stuck here. But the first step for me, and I think this is what pretty much everyone else with a successful design business is going to recommend, is that I told everybody I knew that I was designing websites. So I posted on LinkedIn and Instagram, of course. I also texted people. I mentioned it at parties. I would tell the person next to me on the bus, okay? Everyone. This brings me to my next tip, which is to put yourself out there to your network, whatever your network looks like. Network sounds like it has to be all professional, but it really doesn't. It could be people at your church or parents at the playground if you have kids or if you're a nanny. It could be really anyone. And when I started putting myself out there, I was very honest in saying, hey, I'm moving in this new direction professionally. I'll give you a great deal for being one of my early clients, as long as in exchange, you'll give me a testimonial, assuming that you have a good experience working with me. So frame it as a really good deal that people would be getting, because everybody loves a good deal. And I'll be really transparent that breaking out of this chicken and egg phase can take a frustratingly long time. For some people, it takes months, and for others, it takes years. I do have and will continue to have videos that are specifically on strategies for breaking out of this, but most of my advice really boils down to being as persistent and resourceful as you possibly can with getting those first few projects, and just don't quit. I personally did not focus on money in this early stage. I just focused on 1, getting those foundational portfolio projects, 2, making sure that those clients were super happy so that they would go off and tell all of their friends that I was someone great to work with, and 3, I would make those websites as good as they could possibly be. It really doesn't matter if someone is paying you like used Corolla level prices. Really try to deliver an absolute Ferrari, because future clients will see Ferraris on your website or on your portfolio, and they're gonna very reasonably assume that to get a site like that, they would need to pay Ferrari level prices. See what I'm saying? Another thing I realized about those very early kind of beta projects was that I was doing on the side of my full-time job is that they gave me a chance to get my systems in order. And I want to tell you why this was such a game changer. Even though I was enjoying the work of these early projects, they were also very stressful. I would find myself just not feeling completely in control of the project, and timelines would somehow end up way longer than what I'd projected on almost every project. I would also sweat through my shirt on almost every client call because I was just so nervous. So creating systems is what changed this. Also known as standard operating procedures, which is really just a fancy way of saying checklists for every main phase of your projects. And I know this doesn't sound particularly sexy, but it really is how I started gaining confidence, and I think coming across as more of a trustworthy expert to clients. And what worked well for me was creating some systems of my own, and then also investing in tools that other designers had created. I just found it so valuable to see in real files how more experienced designers were actually working, and to incorporate aspects of what they were doing into my own processes. And full disclosure, I do now have some of my own systems and tools available for other designers if you want to check them out. But my main point here is that whether you're drawing from other people's systems or building your own from scratch, it's really worth making this investment so that you can get to the point with projects where everything runs so smoothly that you really don't have to think about what the next step is, and you can just channel all of your energy into great design and strategy. For context, at this point, I was still in a full-time job doing maybe one website or so per month over the course of 4 or 5 months. But there came a moment when I just felt like I was ready to leave my full-time job. And this was sort of when I sensed that the growth of my freelance business was being held back by my corporate job. And I really don't think there's ever a perfect moment to make this leap. Some people are even forced into it because of a layoff or something. But I do think that the two things that will make you feel the best going in are, number one, just feeling confident in your skills, and two, having enough savings that you don't panic if you have a slow month or a slow quarter. And this is going to take a different amount of time for everyone. I really tried not to compare my timeline to anyone else's. And another thing that I want to be really real about here is that after your first 3 or 5 or however many foundational projects, it's not as though things magically get easy in my experience. Maybe if you're like a top 0.1% most talented designer, or you win some website award that gives you a ton of visibility, but for most of us, myself included, I have to work to keep new projects coming in and to stay visible. I have to ask former clients for referrals. They're usually not just bringing them to me unsolicited. So I won't say that things just magically get easy, but they definitely do get easier. And I think that the stronger your early projects are and the happier that your early clients are, the faster that things will get easier. So I feel really lucky to have been doing this for a few years now. It's still really challenging at times, but overall, going independent was one of the best decisions I ever made for my overall happiness and honestly also for my income. And I want as many other designers as possible to break through that really hard period where you're still getting started, because it can be so rewarding on the other side of that. So if you want to get a window into one of the ways that I went about making my early projects look 10 times more professional and expensive than they actually were, then watch this next video.